to Channel 44. I am Mercy Gashegu Sembatia to bring you this morning's news update live here on Channel 44. Well, we'll start with what's happening around us. In the papers today, the Daily Monitor, Ebola cases rise to 7. Neighboring countries and the World Health Organization have joined calls by Uganda urging people to take care as health workers work round the clock to tame the highly contagious disease. The Daily Monitor also brings you how schools have prepared to protect their learners from Ebola. Health workers reject calls to join response team. Ebola survivor narrates painful journey to recovery in the Daily Monitor today. Get yourself a copy and see how you can know what is happening in Uganda, especially about the Ebola that has hit our nation. Well, we continue to urge you to take caution, sanitize, avoid shaking hands. 3.7 billion debt, and also how Mukono mother killed her 2 children. Will Uganda's plan on disaster work? It's all in today's Daily Monitor. And in their sports section, they bring you cranes, cricket cranes win the SEA T20 Cup. It is good news for Uganda, Africa champions again. The Cranes cricket skipped every hurdle to lift the inaugural Africa T20 Cup in South Africa yesterday. It was pure elation back home after coach Lawrence Mahatalen, his side charged out with an incredible batting display to defeat Tanzania by 8 wickets at the Sahara Willowmore Park Stadium in Benoni, Gauteng. We'll go straight to the New Vision. Parish circles get 250 billion shillings. Government changes procedure for funds release as parish circles get 250 billion shillings. Also, Mulago to do kidney transplants. Mulago National Referral Hospital, a senior consultant radiologist, Dr. Zerida Muyinda, was showing members of the Parliamentary Committee on Health the SPECT Gamma camera during their inspection of the facility yesterday. Patients in need of kidney transplants will no longer seek services abroad as the Mulago Organ Transplant Unit is ready to offer services. The unit has 2 fully equipped theatres, 1 high dependence unit, a dialysis unit with 25 beds for pre-transplant dialysis and continuous renal replacement therapy. It's good news for Uganda. And moving on, 6 new cases, 43 contacts being monitored. Fight erupts over 955 billion shillings Ngasa oil block, and families cry out as sugar food prices increase. It's only today's New Vision. Now, because of time, allow me to take you straight into our international news update. The economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has decided to impose sanctions on individuals in the military government of Guinea in response to last year's coup in Conakry. The leaders from the bloc met in New York where they were attending the UN General Assembly. They agreed on gradual sanctions on a list of people linked to the Guinea junta who will be identified very soon. Guinea leaders say they need 3 years to return the country to democracy, and they are unhappy with ECOWAS's demands for a faster transition. In a statement, the Guinean interim Prime Minister Bernard Gomo had earlier described the ECOWAS chief and president of neighboring Guinea-Bissau, Umaro Sissoko Embalo, as a puppet and an overexcited man who had forced his way in to lead the regional organization. And moving on, Britain's prestigious Cambridge University has admitted it benefited from the transatlantic slave trade, which ran from the 16th to the 19th century and involved African people being forcibly removed from their lands and made to work in the Americas for European landowners. Cambridge's own advisory group of legacies of enslavement found that families connected to the trade sent their children to the university that many colleges funded their operation through investment in companies connected to colonialism and slavery, and how some intellectuals at Cambridge defended slavery. Vice Chancellor Professor Stephen Jetu explained the reason why the report was commissioned, and he says the inquiry set out to add the sum of their historical knowledge, working on the principle that as mature research-driven university, Cambridge is better off knowing than not knowing about its past. And in Europe, Russian men attempting to leave the country to avoid a military call-up for the Ukraine war. Queues have formed at border crossings since President Vladimir Putin announced a partial military mobilization on Wednesday, which could see 300,000 people summoned to fight. The Kremlin says reports of fighting-age men fleeing are exaggerated, but on the border with Georgia, miles-long queues of vehicles have formed, including men trying to escape the war. Some of those heading into neighboring countries have used bicycles to bypass lines of cars and evade a ban on crossing on foot. One of these men, who did not want to be named, told the press that he had waited since 9 a.m. on Thursday, but managed to cross. Still about the Russian war, the U.S. is taking seriously Vladimir Putin's veiled threats to use nuclear weapons to defend areas in Ukraine, according to a top White House official. John Kirby said the U.S. was not changing its strategic deterrent posture, but that Mr. Putin spoke irresponsibly. On Wednesday, Russia's leader Putin warned his country would use all the means at its disposal to protect its territory, including the nuclear. It came as 4 Ukrainian regions, part occupied by Russian forces, about to stage snap votes on joining Russia. Ukraine and its allies call these votes a sham exercise designed to give spurious legitimacy to an illegal annexation. And in the Middle East, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi has said the death of a woman in police custody must be investigated after it sparked widespread protests. Speaking on a visit to the UN General Assembly in New York, Mr. Raisi accused the West of hypocrisy for raising concerns over Mahsa Amin's death. She died hours after morality police arrested her for allegedly breaking headscarf rules. At least 17 people have died in the worst unrest in Iran for years. Ms. Amine, a Kurdish woman from the northwestern city of Saqqez, died in hospital in Tehran on Friday following 3 days in a coma. And about climate, carbon emissions in the Amazon region in 2019 and 2020 more than doubled compared to the average of the previous 8 years, according to a new study. Deforestation for agriculture and fires were the main drivers of the increase, according to the authors. The scientists said that a collapse in law enforcement in recent years has encouraged forest clearing. The research findings have been submitted for publication but have yet to be independently reviewed. And finally, Boeing is to pay out $200 million over charges that it misled investors about 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes. The stock market of the United States regulator said the aviation giant and its former chief executive Dennis Muhlenberg made false statements about safety issues. Boeing put profits over people in an effort to rehabilitate its image, according to the Securities and Exchange Commission. The 737 MAX was grounded for 20 months after 2 crashes killed 346 people. As part of the settlement, Mr. Muhlenberg will also pay a penalty of $1 million. Well, that brings us to the end of this morning's news update. Thank you for watching Channel 44. I remind you of the Karamoja Cry. We are sending food relief to the people of Karamoja. Join us as we send help to our very own. We are sending tractors that are going to help in salvaging the situation in Karamoja by planting, plowing, and producing the land in Karamoja. That will help produce delicious food for people there, and thereby giving a permanent solution. So proceed to the numbers that will be available during the services, all the numbers that are running on the scrolls on Channel 44. You will be tremendously blessed. Tonight is the overnight. Prepare to come with your seed and expect a miracle. I remain Masigashe Gusebata. We'll meet again at 12:45. God bless you. Good morning.